Ja, lyser det rødt? Jeg trykker på record-knappen.
Yeah. That's if he's asking me tomorrow. No, my ham radio moment of the week was yesterday doing a PODA activation with him. Yeah. No, just kidding. The whole weekend is my moment of the week. Pardon?
That was when it started to rain.
Yeah.
So Juergen, we have one microphone to share, so we have
Okay.
roughly.
I think we can handle it.
Yes, I think so.
En liten intro først. For de som ikke har lest så nøye på programmet, det er sikkert et par av, så blir foredraget på utenlandsk. Vi har fått Juergen her fra Østerrike. Han snakker ikke norsk som Alexander Støkkel, så da blir det på engelsk. Og da er vi klokka der, så da gjør vi sånn. And welcome. We're the European Ham Radio Show, or part of the European Ham Radio Show. First of all, we have Juergen here. And what's your call sign, Juergen?
Thank you, Morten. Oh, is it on? Yeah, it's on. My call sign is Oscar Echo 4 Juliet Hotel Whiskey. I'm
plus 60 dB as usual.
yeah,
Yeah.
Mr. Plus 60 dB because I'm always strong when he's out in a park. I'm living in about 30 kilometers south of Vienna in the province called Burgenland. And I'm the rookie on the show, let's say, since how long now? A couple of months. I stopped 3-4 months or so.
On and off for a while.
Yeah.
To make you a permanent member of the show.
That's for sure. And it's great to be a member of the team.
And then we have Kjetil.
Yep, Kjetil, Lima Bravo 4 Foxtrot Hotel. Still a rookie ham radio in Norway, 9 years or something like that, or 9 years this summer. I started doing YouTube when I started in the hobby. I started with making summits on the air videos and so on, and that was up to 2017. And then I got tired of it for a variety of reasons, technical and other. And then I got back to it when Morten started, and then started joining live streams and so on, and then joined the European Ham Radio Show.
Yeah, and we're going to get back to the story on how everything started.
Yeah.
And then it's me. I've been licensed since 2020, so I'm still a new ham, at least according to a lot of people here. Done ham radio YouTube since 2021. Got a primarily North American audience on my channel. About 50% of my viewers are from the United States, and then another 15 from Canada. So tried to do this internationally, and that's also the philosophy behind the European Ham Radio Show. Then we have Tobias, also on YouTube, LabCat on YouTube. He does a lot of technical stuff, rebuilds old radios and stuff. Great channel. He couldn't be here today, so we only have one German-speaking alibi here. And besides that, Bob, as you call yourself in English, he's in the audience because he didn't want to be on stage and be seen. So he's our alibi for comments, and if you guys don't comment, he will.
He's shy talking in front of a camera.
Yeah. And then we have a couple of former crew members. There are a lot of difficulties working across time zones and across cultures. So we've had 2 American members of the team. Sean, Whiskey 9 Fox Fox Fox, also known as Ham Radio Dude on YouTube. He's got enough with his own channel at the moment, so he's out the channel. And then we have Walt, who was together with us and founded the show, K4OGO, Coastal Waves and Wires on YouTube. And Walt's a great guy, but he also has enough with life and everything around it. So running a huge YouTube channel and being on our stream at a time which is not good, considering that he's in a different time zone, just didn't work out. But more importantly, what is the European Ham Radio Show? because we are a YouTube show, but we're much more. We started as the European Digimode Net in, let's see, whatever, May 2023. Tobias sent me an email and asked if we should just cooperate on stream, do FT8 talk. So we did that, and that quickly gained some traction. But again, we're more than a YouTube show. We're a community. We're a virtual club, and we got to focus on Elmering. There's been a lot of talk today, and at least in the 2 sessions I've attended, about Elmering. And we believe that we need to Elmer people in the right way, right?
Yeah, and this is a good way to reach out. Like, you can do it at the time it fits for people to actually watch it. And it's interactive. Like, we live off feedback. People come back and say, can you cover this? Sometimes it's very polite and stuff, and other times we'll maybe come back to later.
Yeah.
But it is a great way, and there's a lot of inspiration. Of course, there's also a lot of duplication out there, so you get a lot of similar videos with different people's takes and millions of different opinions.
Yep.
But that would be the same in this hall if you ask people about the best antenna.
And then you haven't seen the last sentence here, because we're a Eurocentric ham radio show. We're the European and metric counterpart to shows like Coffee and Ham Radio's, Ham Radio Clubhouse, and most of all the Ham Radio Workbench, which we have cooperated with quite a lot.
If you want it.
Great bunch of hams there. And this is how it all got started back in May 2 years ago.
It is Sunday. It's 9 p.m. European time, or 1900 UTC, and we got a big crowd here today. Tobias on my side here actually had an idea a couple of weeks ago about a European Digimode Net. So we don't really know what we're doing here, but we're going to try. And the chirping you hear in the background is not Winlink. It's let's see if I can find it the right way. It's Kjetil that's outside actually doing radio. Yeah.
And you probably noticed a couple of things there. First of all, how bad YouTube's automatic subtitling is. That's the first part. And the fact that we still don't know what we're doing. We're just a little bit better at not knowing what we're doing. Furthermore, that first show, which was supposed to be 1 episode on my channel, escalated. We had so much fun doing this that we started emailing back and forth. The next week, we actually had a show, and we figured we'd call it the European Ham Radio Show. And we ran it on my channel for the first 16 episodes. Then we figured out we need to spin this off as a separate channel, a separate brand, and have its own identity, which turned out to be pretty smart, just to have that concept going by itself. Yeah, the first show on the TEHRS channel ran on September 16, 2023. And we're pretty much done a stream every week, haven't you?
Yeah, except for Christmas vacations and so on. So we've been on mostly every week since that.
Yeah.
And we have a nice group of people that come back and watch us live and make sure that, like, a stream like this, that doesn't work unless you have people in chat. People that contribute, ask questions, come with comments live. And that's a nice thing about it.
Absolutely. And the interaction is the major part here, because we are not only a YouTube channel, we are a community. And that is, what do we talk about? Juergen, you haven't been on the team a long time. What do we actually talk about?
Everything and nothing. Now,
Short answer is that it depends.
it depends, yeah. Yeah. So my first talk on the show was about, and this was my entry, was about doing the US license exam, as I did.
And we talk about everything ham radio, basically,
Yeah.
from simple stuff to really advanced stuff. We try to mix it up a little bit. I know Bob back there would like to have more technical stuff. And it all depends on the guests, though, because we try to focus on having guests. We try to focus on having the guests shine when they do this. And actually, it's not about us, it's about the community. And that's kind of our motto doing this.
And as broad as the community is, as broad are the topics on the show.
Yep. And the community also
Yep.
suggests topics to us. But the community and the guests are the important part, not we as hosts. We were simply a way for those people to facilitate what they want to do. And we have some highlights. And I know a lot of you people are going to cringe with the first thumbnail from YouTube here. We did this stream. And we did this just to see what kind of reactions we could provoke from it.
Did it work?
Yeah, it worked. And
I'm still alive.
we're still alive. And George KJ6BU from the Ham Radio Workbench, he's got a quote, and that's, your ham radio might not be my ham radio, but it's still ham radio. And that's what we're trying to get across, but in a little bit of a clickbaity thumbnail here. Then when Meshtastic hit, we got a couple of British YouTubers, which are really large, to come on our channel to talk about Meshtastic, which was a great show.
Yeah.
Both Lewis and Andy are great people, and Lewis has been a couple of times on the show. We had the guys from Ham Radio Workbench on, talking about that show. That led to a lot of collaboration, so we've been on their show, and they've been on our show a couple of times, and then we've had the hosts from the Ham Radio Workbench on a couple of times with us. We introduced Bunkers on the Air, Kjetil.
Yeah, and that hasn't been marketed enough, but in Norway, everybody knows Parks on the Air, Summits on the Air. We started a Bunkers on the Air last fall after this stream with Carl, and simply I haven't had time to add very many bunkers. Mostly are located around the people you see here for some reason. But basically, it's an activity program like everything else.
It's huge in Britain, and I figured the first time I'd activated, I did a double PODA and Bunkers on the Air activation. Spotted on both sides. Bunkers on the Air is probably bigger than Parks on the Air in Britain.
Yeah.
It was the biggest pileup I've ever had.
And running a British Royal Observer Corps post from a German bunker in Norway, that is really funny.
Yeah. Then we had Mark Smith, N6MTS, Halibut Electronics and Ham Radio Workbench, if you heard about him. We had him on to talk about the variety of his projects, but then we just needed to do an episode of all the stuff we didn't cover. So we had an hour where we just nerded out with him, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Mark's a great guy.
We limit our shows to roughly an hour. So sometimes we have some really interesting guests, and sometimes we don't get to the topic until very close to that hour. So we go a bit over, and then we get another show with the same person later.
Yep. And then we did the €1,000 ham shack challenge, where we didn't have any rules except it should be maximum of €1,000. And both we and the viewers contributed on getting a shack put together for that amount. And that's a good exercise for new hams to see that you can get by with a relatively small amount of money. And then Øystein, there, set up. He's also got a YouTube channel, and he made homemade ATES compatible coil. And we give you an hour, and we probably need an hour more in order to really understand how this coil works. But you got it down here, don't you? So people can take a look at it?
Yes.
Yep. But again, it's not only a show, it's a community. And for those of you people who are, let's say, on Facebook, know that ham radio groups can be toxic. People have opinions. People want to turn everything around to have it being about what they think and not what's asked. And that is, in our opinion, harmful to the hobby. We could have shared screenshots of comments. We have not done that. All of you guys have seen that. But there's always that guy that knows best, suggests that what you're doing is not going to work, saying that you should use something else, claims that what you're doing is ruining ham radio.
Mm.
I had a club discussion at a talk I had, I'm not going to mention which club it is, where I got told that FD8 is ruining ham radio. Newsflash, it's not FD8, it's the attitudes like that that's ruining our hobby. Or the guy that probably calls you an idiot straight out.
Yeah, and this is also the reason why I stopped making videos back in 2017. I've been licensed for a year and basically got bullied out of making more videos. And of course, I look back at those videos, they thoroughly suck. But that was more on the production quality and me not knowing what I'm doing,
Yep.
and not the operational part, which they are still interesting for that from a rookie's perspective. So it's something to keep in mind, and I think it's sadly something that many of us meet, but which we don't have a big problem with, do we?
We do not, and we're going to get back to that. But statistically speaking, 3 of you guys is that guy. Please stop.
Yeah.
This is what ruins ham radio. So we're trying to fix this. It's not necessarily an easy way to fix this. But we've got some ground rules, Kjetil.
Yep. Go on. So we have to remember that everybody here has been new. Like we are, and we're coming from different backgrounds. But everybody, when you come into this hobby, you get a license and you don't know what you're doing. It's not like driving a car when you get it and you're the world champion. It's the complete opposite. So that's something everybody notices, and it's the same across every countries, not Norway specific.
No, this is international.
Yeah, and we are good at something in a hobby. There are it's such a wide variety or hobby of hobbies. We hear some people here today that talk about WinLink. Some are really good at remote stuff. Some are good at building stuff. Some are good at operating. Or some are just interested in teaching this and learning others how to do it. And there's nobody, or there are a few, of course, that know everything, but those are generally the people we talk about here. But there's nobody here that knows everything. And we thrive on respect. And if we're gonna be, I don't know how many here was in the speech earlier about the WinLink communication. But if we're going to be seen as like a respected community outwards, then we have to actually treat each other with respect and talk about each other. Even if we're different, have different hobbies, different interests, we have to talk about framsnakke, as it's called in Norwegian, what others are doing, even if you don't like it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and always think how you can help them. Like if you're in here to harm the community, some people are, sadly. Then we need to make sure that we get to these people and try to guide them away from them in a suitable way if possible. With Ham Radio YouTube, at least the people that make videos, most of them are there because they like to communicate. They are Elmers. So there's so many of us that actually want to share our knowledge and share the hobby and the joy of the hobby. Yeah.
And finally, Juergen, you summarized this in one sentence when we went through the presentation.
Yeah. Always think about ham spirit. That's one word, ham spirit, or 2 words, ham spirit.
Yeah. And in our community, we have never had the need to moderate anything.
Never had to delete anything.
Moderate anything. Yeah. Not a lot of people can say that running an online community in any subject, and especially ham radio. We had one moment where we almost had to moderate, but the guy self-moderated and left. So
Yeah.
it kind of solved itself.
But that was after some feedback from people.
A little bit of feedback, yeah.
Careful guidance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And our activity is centered around Discord, and probably a lot of people don't know what Discord is. It's a real-time chat platform, basically. We have different channels for different subjects there. So there is pretty much discussions going around the clock there. And from everything. A little bit off topic, a little bit antennas, a little bit guidance, a lot of portable radio, strangely enough. And the show is the common denominator. But Discord is what keeps us going. That's where all the feedback happens. That's where the mentoring happens. And this is what Discord looks like. And Kjetil, you can probably mention a little bit since you're the one actually.
You'd rather screenshot of me there, but basically here we have different channels. This is like IRC for the people that were on the internet back in the days. Different channels, different topics that we sometimes keep to, sometimes others. In this case, I tried to get, or I said I was working in Germany, and a German guy popped up and wondered where I was, in case I was close in that small country. But
It turned out that you weren't close at all.
not at all. But still, this is a way where we can share photos, we can share videos. People share photos of their online activities, same as Facebook, so not that different. But these are people that are mostly the ones that are watching our live shows, but also those that are watching our live shows after the stream, like they're in a different time zone or had to work or whatever. So really nice. And
Yep.
it's open for asking any sort of question.
As long as you follow the ground rules.
Yeah.
If you're that guy, we might have the need to moderate.
Yeah.
You should have a separate channel for that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is all good. Then I'm sure some of you think that. Have you actually helped some people get licensed?
And we did, yeah.
Yeah, we did. Perhaps you want to talk a little bit about this, Juergen? We could have stopped the presentation here, but this is Charlotte, Mike 7, Hotel Juliet, India. She's a brand new ham.
Yeah, and she came on Discord for asking questions. What can I buy? What equipment do I need? How can I set up my antennas, and so on and so on. And there was a lot of Elmering going on,
Yeah.
and that helped her a lot.
I think she first popped up in your first HD stream, actually.
Yeah,
Um,
she popped up before she got the license. Yeah, yeah.
because she was going to get licensed and found her stream on the first HT. And as hams, we decided to help her. Of course, we had a lot of opinions on which HD she should get. And those are the type of questions that guy, let's just call him that guy, would ridicule. And on Facebook, this would have been a huge fire.
Mm.
It's just sad.
It is. But in our Discord, we met her with respect. Walt Elmer, we ask questions. What do you really want to do with the HD?
Mm.
Where do you live? What kind of activity is nearby? And since she was going to get licensed, we followed up with 2 more live streams to get her and other people up and running. We did your first HF radio, and the conclusion of that again was, which radio is your first?
It depends.
It depends, but it's usually the G90.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It depends on the G90.
Yeah. And then we followed up with, you've seen this slide before, the €1,000 ham challenge.
Mm.
And it is possible to get something for €1,000. It's not easy to get something for €1,000, but you can get it done.
Mm.
Charlotte got licensed in November. And she had her first HFQSO from the RSGB National Radio Center, and the RSGB shared this on Facebook. I've not looked at the comments there. And she kept sharing on Discord on her journey, what she did. She lives in an apartment where antennas can be quite tricky. So when she hunted her first park, she was really happy.
Hmm.
And then to finish it all off, of course, we needed to have her on stream to talk about her experience
Of the week. And Charlotte, you get to start everything off. What's your ham reading moment of the week?
Nice, thank you so much. So, I actually had a couple. One was actually getting a QSO with you, which is pretty cool on Parks of the Air. So I did get I hunted my first parks, which was really awesome, this week. And I think that's probably the main one. And also chatting to some of the people on the Discord on DMR. That was kind of cool as well. We got that kind of up and running, although that might have been tail end of last week. But yeah, I would say hunting my first parks. That was awesome. I really, really want to do an activation. That's my next kind of big goal.
Yeah, it was fun to.
And what's unique is that Charlotte, first of all, she's under 40. Second of all, she's a woman. Those things are unique, and those are the people we should seek after as hams. Looking at the people here, we're not the most diverse community. We have some way to go there. And then it's the question if YouTube is the new Elmer. And I see that we run through the presentation way faster than we thought, so we got some room for questions afterwards and opinions, of course.
Yeah.
As anything in ham radio.
It depends.
Yep. Because there's a lot of content on YouTube. There's a lot of good content. There's a lot of not so good content, and there's even more of mediocre content. But you can find information on whatever of the 1,000 hobbies within ham radio you're interested in. It's hard though, if you're new, to know which information is good and which is not. And a lot of channels such as Coffee and Ham Radios, Ham Radio Clubhouse, a lot of channels have a community, which allows for discussions and interaction, which is good, especially since attendance in most clubs are down. And other clubs, as Thomas said in the talk before us, people meet up to eat crackers and drink coffee and not talk ham radio. So we provide a little bit of that aspect in it. But then again, not all content is good content, and not all social media are equal. Facebook is probably the easiest platform to find content. Twitter is easy as well, but those platforms can be toxic. Those platforms can scare away new hams. So it depends, again, what you're looking for. And we cannot always replace physical Elmering. Charlotte came to me when I worked with this presentation. She's trying to get an antenna up in just outside her apartment. And she said that it'd be so much easier if she had a local ham that could just come, look at what space she had available, and say that you can put up this kind of antenna. Asking those questions on a social media platform leads to a lot of opinions. So it's an addition and not a substitute for the physical mentoring. But it's got its place. Do you guys have any opinions on this?
Yeah, I totally agree. And meeting locally, it's also difficult to get people in. At least until recently, all courses in Norway, training courses, were held by local groups. I see that more and more are like nationwide. And it has its benefits, but it also means you don't physically meet up and so on. So there's good things about both parts and bad things about both parts. And we have to live together with it, but it's a great addition, I think. And as long as you manage it and get community like we've done, like others have done, then this is a really good meeting space for people who are interested in it. And for the others, we still have the local clubs as well. So.
And to summarize it a little bit before we go to questions, we're more than a YouTube show. YouTube is what draws people to the Discord and to our community. And it's also a lot of fun sitting down Sunday evenings and making the show.
Yeah, and we also have podcasts, by the way. So
we do have a podcast when someone remembers to upload the audio track from the episode as a podcast.
Yeah, but there are surprisingly many who actually like to listen to things like this in the car on the way to work or something like that. So that's also interesting to see.
Yep. And we're the metric cam show. Again, we're Eurocentric. We do have a lot of American guests. We do have content for the Americans, but we try to be the European counterpart to all of those American shows, which are great, but not everything is directly translatable. And YouTube can be a great element. And a final, anyone take a guess on what the final takeaway from this talk is?
It depends.
Don't be that guy. Besides that, we do some things in real life as well. You might have seen this slide somewhere else. We're going to Bornholm first weekend of August to do Parks on the Air. 3 nights, 1,400, including breakfast. It's not a bad deal. Sign-ups within next Friday and perhaps a little bit later, but we want to get people to sign up as quickly as possible. There's a QR code here, and it's hamshow.eu/meetup. Yep, Bob gives the thumbs up. He's the webmaster.
And for those who are familiar in Bornholm, there's also a mountain there, so you can climb that and do summits of the air. At least if you're from Østfold, then that is a high place to go.
But the thing here is just to get a connection, and there are people coming from all over Europe to this, and there might even be people coming from the US. I think there's 19 parks on Bornholm and 1 soda summit. It's relatively cheap and it's going to be fun. It's going to be 3 days of nerding at Boda. And then questions part. Any questions? Any comments?
Have you been in contact with the local groups, because they have gatherings like on Mondays, and some groups have different locations and different weeks, so they can contribute into, because everybody's thinking about the Elmering, and everybody's thinking what can we do to promote this hobby.
Yeah,
it's kind of like separate issues. Everybody's talking about the same thing separately.
Yeah, and I think we do talk to the clubs we're members of regarding this. It's not necessarily our space and our part to convince all the clubs across Europe to do Elmering. But we do our part with talking about it on air, being respectful and having the Discord, and then hopefully that will spread.
I guess each of us would be individually accessible for that.
Yeah.
Like, a good point. But I think that would be more for the groups or for NRL to actually go to us and ask us, like, can you contribute to this, or do you have advice? Because, well, we're not experts. We just do this.
Yeah, we just have opinions like every other ham, and we like talking about the hobby and promoting the hobby, and we're not necessarily experts in what we talk about. That's why we have guests. Any more comments or questions? Yep.
You talk about the hobby all the time, but really it's more than a hobby, isn't it?
It's a lifestyle.
It's an amateur radio service, which becomes the only hobby that one needs an international license to pursue.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's true, yeah.
So perhaps you should include that particular phrase now and again to point out to people that it's a pursuit that is licensed effectively from the UN, through the ITU.
That's a valid point to point out.
This sounds to me like we have a potential guest.
Yep.
As Bob used to say, you just volunteered.
But we do also in theory cover radio in general. So we had LoRa 1, which isn't
necessarily.
It's not necessarily ham related, but still it's
Meshtastic.
Yeah, but still a really good point, and thank you.
Yes, I'll be informing our participants about your show on offer.
Yeah, of course.
Excellent.
That would be
Thank
great.
you.
And who was it suggested that Charlotte gets a loop antenna?
I don't know.
What's that? Shaw?
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least that was a big discussion on what antenna to get. Magnetic loop can be a great antenna, but not necessarily for a new ham. I do have a love-hate relationships with mag loops. I hate them, but I would really like to love them.
Yeah, but for now, like her setup is a long coax from the radio room through her son's room and out on a balcony, and then hanging the antenna outside on a long telescopic whip on the 4th floor in a building block somewhere in
Edinburgh.
Yeah.
So
not ideal to say that way, but it works, and she gets on the air.
So. She gets on the air, and it's a start.
Yeah. So.
And then we should get a local ham to actually perhaps stop by her.
Here,
yeah. Yeah. Any more questions, Petter?
No. It depends. I was just thinking about Charlotte, and it's an almost impossible question to answer really, without being there.
Yeah.
And it depends on what bands you're interested in working as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as a new ham, you don't really know what bands you want to operate on. You don't know what the bands are like.
No. But and once again, we obviously have a preference from experience on what works and what does not. I was just thinking, well, small antenna, less space, a cobweb or something like that would do a job for you.
Or just simply a random wire.
Yeah, but it's always difficult, and I think that a lot of the new hams, they have sort of a threshold. They get their license, they're very excited, they want to get on the air, and then everything just goes quiet, and that's no good at all.
And the threshold, once you come home and look around and you don't see the opportunities you have where you live for antennas, because you don't know antennas.
Nope.
And I had a couple of hams that helped me when I got licensed. Looked around and looked at 2 trees and see there's your antenna. I did not see that myself.
Oh, I also got an antenna, like from Lima Bravo 8 India Golf, Vlad. So he gave me a SOTA antenna. Simple as that. Simple tuner, wire up in the tree, and showed me how to use it. And that got me on the air until I got something better. That is the kind of Elmering like you have to have locally.
Yep.
I was also like that, like I said earlier, some negative things about being on YouTube, but there's also a lot of positive. We reach out to people, but there's also a lot of positive feedback. And I got this here today, and last year here, and after doing a course with Juergen's group last year as well. People that say that they've seen videos that I've done, that Morten have done, or somebody else have done, and how that inspired them to get into the hobby. Because some of them don't know what a hobby is, or they think it's the traditional radio amateur instead of like the outdoors person, or maybe they're really technical and want to dig into it and actually see a technical video. And that brings at least some people into the hobby that we would never reach otherwise. So there's a lot of positive.
It is a recruiting tool, and none of us that do ham radio YouTube do this because of the money. I can tell you that it takes a lot of work to do this, but when people come back to you and say that they've gained something from what you do, that is the takeaway. That is what drives us.
Yeah, and it's hard on the gear. Drones are expensive, especially when they crash into trees. But like all of us, we invest heavily in not only radio gear, but also camera gear, microphones, wireless microphones, outdoors gear, and so on. So there's a lot of money that's sunk into doing this.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be expensive, but it
somehow just as ham radio turns out to be the hobby in itself.
Yeah, hobbies can be expensive.
Yeah. Any more questions?
Another one. Good thing about trees is that they put no limits on how high you can hang an antenna. But if you put up a pole, that should not be higher than 7.99 meters to be to avoid having to apply for permission. So you can remember that when you talk to other people.
Depends. Some places have local regulations as well, but that we do have an antenna manager in NRL that can help with this, right?
Yep, that's where it came from.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there is help out for those who actually run into these
Yeah.
problems.
And we
So-
do very little
You have limitations in height?
specific,
Really?
stuff like that because we try to be international.
Yeah.
About 1.5% of our viewers are Norwegian, so it just wouldn't work to do
No,
this
I appreciate
Norway
that,
specific. Bob, boy,
I have a comment to that comment, and that is that when it comes to flagpoles, strangely enough, there's no regulations. You just need to get the approval of your neighbors around you, informally, and you can put up a flagpole. And basically, mine is 12 meters tall, and I will just pull the flag down and pull the antenna off when I need it. No problem at all.
There's always a way.
there's always a way.
We're like usually we're on an hour, but we spend mostly like 20 minutes in the start just talking about our
The
week.
ham radio moment of the week.
Yeah.
I see that we could have had time for that. We got 5 minutes left, so we're pretty good. Anything else?
There's one thing you've forgotten.
Yep.
Tell us what time we've got to turn on the computer.
Oh, that is a very valid point. Sundays, 9 p.m., 2100 Norwegian time.
Isn't it 8?
It's 8
No,
now.
no,
Yeah,
it's
yes,
2000.
It is 8 now. It used to be 9.
It was.
You can find us also as a podcast. I forgot that as well. On YouTube, on Discord, web, email, DMR, and All-Star. And not Facebook. And we also have our own YouTube channels, but I'm guessing some of the people here have found those already. And Juergen did you're probably the exotic YouTuber here
Because of?
because you're Austrian.
Yeah.
Yeah. You did a live stream this morning from here.
Yeah, indeed. And I did a live stream yesterday from the park, and I thought it's a good idea to live stream my first Hamfest in Norway. So
And where can people find your channel?
my channel, you simply look up my call sign on YouTube, OE4JHW, or my US call sign, which is Alpha Hotel 6 Uniform November. So name of the channel is AH6UN OE4JHW Alpine Radio Waves.
Yeah.
Thanks.
If that's a lot to remember, then
Yeah.
from Hansel.e
Just-
to your channel as well.
Yeah.
Just look up my call sign, that's the easy way. Something I wanted to add, when we brought people to the hobby, we still need to guide them. Otherwise we will lose them. There are a number of enthusiastic new hams, and that's not the problem. But most of the new hams we have in Austria, we have to guide them. We have to show them what's possible, where the fun is. Otherwise we are losing them.
Yeah. Exactly. And if there are no more questions,
There are so many ham radio courses we do in Austria. We do it online, we do it in the clubs, but many participants, and they are all going to take the exam, but after a year they simply disappeared.
Same here.
yeah.
Yeah, it's quite common.
And I hope to see all of you guys tomorrow evening, 8 p.m.
Yeah.
And there's probably no surprise what the ham radio moment of the week is.
Definitely not. No.
Thank you for coming here to just talk about the show. So here is a small gift from
Thank you very much.
Hammeeting.
I brought chocolate, and I take chocolate with me. Thank you so much.
Thank you for talking about the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting us.
Nice.
Finish.
Yeah.
And now it's time for lunch.
Da er det lunsj.